It's no secret that Adam Sandler's career has taken a gigantic nosedive in the last decade or so. Everything he's put out, from Pixels to The Cobbler to Ridiculous Six, has been a giant dumpster fire.
All right, just lift your tail for me, please.
The interesting part about Adam Sandler is not that he has an audience still, which he does, and that's fine if you like it. The interesting part is people that dislike Adam Sandler and the people that like Adam Sandler seem to agree that his last good movie is Grown Ups, the original Grown Ups. So, having many people personally tell me this, I said, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna check Grown Ups out. It's been the better part of a decade since I've seen it. I remember liking it when I was young and dumb, and I'm still young and dumb, so maybe I'll like it. So, I watched it, and oh boy!
I got lucky on St. Patty's Day, but she was half asleep. And by half asleep, I mean she was asleep. She was out. Yeah, she was out. Yeah.
Police! Help!
Boy, did I hate this movie. I mean no offense to anybody who has personally told me that they enjoy this. It is just not my thing. Adam Sandler and his style of comedy, specifically in these types of movies, is not my thing. But let's get into the premise really quick, just to get that out of the way. Basically, it's a movie about Adam Sandler and his buddies having a vacation to a cabin in the woods. It's one of those very rare movies where nothing happens, but there's like 5 scenes that are plot related to make you think that things are happening. It starts off with this embarrassing basketball game with a bunch of 5-year-olds running around. We see this basketball game that Adam Sandler and his friends all win, and then it cuts to like 20 years later or 30 years later, I don't remember, and everybody's grown up into the annoying douchebags that they are now. But they all come back together when they hear that their coach of this tiny kids game died. So they decide to celebrate his death by going to a cabin in the woods to reconnect. Hey man, you going somewhere? Oh, hey man. Do you remember that coach that we had? Basketball coach, elementary school?
No.
Yeah, no, me either, but me and the boys are gonna go to his funeral because apparently he put a fork in his socket and then fell into his tub with a toaster. So we're gonna go to his funeral and then go to Six Flags and kick it for the weekend, party it up, you know, in his name, in his honor. That's incredibly weird. Yeah, I know. You know what would have been better? Not having the basketball coach be the coach of 8-year-olds, have it be high school so that the kids would actually care and remember their coach or the fond times they had playing basketball for him. It's just very weird to me. I don't know any of my coaches of any of my teams pre-high school, nor do I care about them at all. If I heard that one of them died, I'd be like, oh, that sucks. And then I'd move on with my life. What is this premise? Not only would that one change, I think, make this premise work a little bit more, but I think just following Adam Sandler would have made a world of difference as well. Because you get this sequence of these kids playing basketball. We don't need to see that necessarily. You could just open with Adam Sandler being an agent in Hollywood like he is, and then seeing some things that he does throughout his day. And then he finds out that his high school basketball coach died, and he's gonna reconnect with his old buddies, and we meet the buddies for the first time at the funeral. Instead, we meet everyone at a basketball game, then we meet them all again, grown up, in these painfully long sequences that happen over and over and over again, introducing us to how bumbling and moronic they are. And then we get introduced to them again when Adam Sandler reconnects with them at the funeral. Just cut out all that dead weight and cut straight to him connecting with them at the funeral. Why did we need to meet them 3 times?
Oh, grody.
But this funeral scene is the perfect example of why I dislike Adam Sandler comedies, specifically ones as of late, because they're just improv and one-liners. There's nothing else to this brand of humor other than that. It is literally just improv and one-liners, and this scene perfectly captures that. When Adam Sandler just ribs all of these people he hasn't seen in 25 years.
Seems all right.
She's pretty. You know, in a me in a wig sort of way.
Yeah,
Yeah. When Ben Franklin was flying that kite, it had the key on it. That was to her apartment.
Oh, that was good, man.
You know, but I gotta say, he seems like he's in love, you know?
Well, he was in love with the first 3 wives, too. The cheater, the beater, and the eater.
Oh, that's bad.
Every scene just goes on and on and on with this terrible, awkward improv that is not funny. And to me, it's not funny. I recognize that comedy is incredibly subjective, and I can see that people would enjoy this style of humor where they're just like making fun of each other. People can relate to that, I suppose. But for me, when I'm watching a movie, I want more than just characters making fun of each other endlessly in scenes that go nowhere. I want scenes to progress. I want characters to progress. I want things to happen. I want comedy that isn't just verbal one-liners. And that's all this is. It's just endless one-liners in scenes that almost always go nowhere. There's a sequence when Kevin James uses a rope swing and then falls, and then that's the scene.
Nice!
Rope on a tree, baby! You know what that means.
We get to hang ourselves?
Are you kidding me? You see a rope in a lake and that doesn't make you want to go nuts?
It just comes across incredibly lazy to me, like they put no effort into writing it at all. It just feels like they wanted to have a vacation with a camera crew. There are so many sequences where they're just sitting in chairs, or sitting in their cabin, or sitting at a restaurant, just making fun of each other endlessly. There's no real talent here in terms of comedic writing. All of these actors can be used well. Adam Sandler, obviously, in Punch Drunk Love or in Uncut Gems is great. He has great timing. David Spade, most of these guys are really gifted comedic actors, and what they do with them is one-liners. You could have so much more than one-liners and slapsticks. You could use the medium of film to your advantage. Use sound design, use visuals, use lighting, but it is all just flat wide shots of people ribbing each other. It's incredibly dull.
I've kissed the lips that kissed you!
Nice! What? I'm not afraid to hit a girl. I'm a rock star.
Oh my God. You punched the highlights out of her hair.
He punched the highlights out of her hair!
Those are pancakes?
They're ocean pancakes.
They're great. They look like you cut them off an elephant's legs. I'm not eating that.
It's good for you.
What is this?
What is this?
A scab?
It's dehydrated banana.
What happened to a normal banana?
Speaking of dull, we should talk about the story real quick, which is basically non-existent. The story is these guys played in a basketball game, and a couple of times throughout the movie, the rivals of the basketball game who lost say, hey, we should do a rematch. And then they have a rematch, and that's the movie. The story is terrible. It's hanging on by a thread. Every scene is the same, even the plot scenes. They just show up and kind of have one-liners, and then that's it. It doesn't feel like it's progressing at all. The basketball game at the end just kind of happens on a whim out of nowhere.
He never misses that shot.
So to conclude, I don't like this movie. I think that's pretty obvious. I think I laughed twice rewatching it, which is more than I can say about some of his new films. But other than that, nothing works. Absolutely nothing works. All of the characters are incredibly bare bones and uninteresting. The story's basically non-existent, and it does absolutely nothing with its premise, which is also not great from the get-go. So nothing really works here. But to be honest, when I was going to rewatch this and to maybe review it, which obviously I am now, I set out to actually talk about an Adam Sandler movie I liked. I really expected this to be one I liked because of the buzz around it, because how people still view it, because of how I remembered it. I really thought that this was going to be something worth talking about and worth pointing out as an Adam Sandler gem. But it's just an Adam Sandler movie. I don't know what I expected, but I hated it. I really wanted this to be something to talk about, but there is nothing to talk about. It is a comedy that fails as a comedy, and nothing else makes up for that. So, it sucked!